You can go ahead and make 1,000,000 goals for the year, but the reality is you need to be realistic on what actually you want to achieve and what you want to do. You can't just set the intention of doing 20 million things because you're only human at the end of the day. So I sort of set them up to say, choose 2 desires for the year and let's work towards them, and be realistic and hold yourself accountable. And I feel like anyone can achieve absolutely anything, but you just have to be super realistic on exactly what you want. If you really want something, you'll form habits daily in order to actually get there. It takes 21 days to form a habit. So you just have to set yourself up to understand that it's not going to be easy, it's going to be hard. But if you really want that thing and you really want to hit that goal, you have to be intentional daily in order to get there.
I'm Lowanna Grant, and you've just been granted access. This is where I sit down with some of the most influential voices to bring you real, honest yarns about life, ambition, resilience, and everything in between. We go beyond the headlines and into the heart of our stories. The culture, the humour, and the hustle that shape who we are. These are the stories you might not have heard, but definitely need to. I'm Lowanna Grant, and this is Access Granted. Allira, thank you so much for joining me on Access Granted and for dialing in remotely. This is the first remote interview that I've done for the pod, so thank you so much for being the first remote interview.
No, my pleasure. Anytime. Happy to be here.
Because this podcast is called Access Granted, can I start by asking you if you can grant us access to something that people might not know or might genuinely surprise them about you?
I think it would be that I'm actually very introverted. I feel like people think I'm super extroverted just because I'm such a bubbly out there person, but I'm actually really introverted and struggle in like large social settings.
Really? I can be like that too. I think I'm not a shy person, but it takes me a while to warm up. And then when I feel comfortable, I kind of come out of my shell. So maybe that's like a little bit how you can be as well.
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
And who is Allira like at her core right now in this moment?
I think right now I'm going through this really big transformational period where I've stopped drinking. I'm really caring for my mental health. I'm doing all this inner work. So I think the Allira right now is in this transformative sort of era at the moment. And I don't know who she is because I'm still discovering parts of myself that I'd never thought I'd uncover, which is incredible.
I did want to ask you a little bit later in the interview about your journey with not drinking alcohol, and I do want to get to that. But I guess first, I wanted to touch on, like, you lost your mum when you were 17, and I read that before she passed, she gave you a deck of oracle cards. What influence, like, did your mum have on who you are today and the way that you live your life? And, like, how does her influence show up in your everyday?
Oh my gosh, her influence shows up literally in every day. It's so funny. I've got the cards next to me. I don't know if you can see them, but she gave me these oracle cards just before she passed away. And it's almost like she knew what I was going to be doing with my life in terms of the intuitive readings, the energy healings, and all the spiritual side of things. So I think she's really shaped who I am today and the business that I started, which is incredible because I didn't think I would be doing what I'm doing right now. But if she didn't give me these oracle cards, I wouldn't be probably sitting here having this podcast interview, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask as well, like, with, you know, oracle cards and energy readings and, you know, doing all that spiritual work, was that something that your mum also, was she into doing that as well? And is that why she gifted you those cards? Because it was something that she used to do?
Yeah, she was really spiritual. I remember growing up just being like, why is she doing all this woo-woo stuff? I don't understand it. She was going to like a women's circle once a week. She was getting Reiki. She was just doing her oracle cards and doing lots of witchy things. And I think just being a bratty teenager, I was like, that is lame. I don't want anything to do with that. It's not cool. So I definitely think that has played a really big part of my curiosity within the spiritual world because it always had been around me as a kid.
Yeah, I have always, since like I was a little girl, I've always been so just mesmerized and really interested in spiritual, like anything to do with like manifestation cards or like oracle cards or just like energy readings and all of that sort of thing. And just, I think just being really connected to and open to seeing like messages and things like that. So I think it's like really just super interesting. And it's why I've been so excited to talk to you as well, because I just find everything that you do so interesting.
I love that. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like as well too, like as Indigenous women, we're super in tune already and we're
Yes.
super just in touch with our energy. So I think that's sort of just like another added layer for us. But I'm glad you're into the spiritual stuff, because I know some people can be a little bit like skeptical as well
Yeah.
too. But I think for us, it almost just comes naturally.
I did want to touch on, like, you've spoken about the pressures from society, family, friends around, you know, having children and your choice, like, to be child free. And like, I just want to know, how did you navigate that decision and also like the expectations that like society puts on us as women?
I know, it was honestly, I feel like having kids was never something that I'd ever wanted. I remember growing up with friends and they were just so excited to be mums when they grew up. And I was like, I could think of nothing worse. But like, I respect the decision of women to be able to do that. But it just wasn't something that I ever thought I would want to do. And again, I respect that. But I think, my wife and I had a really good conversation when we first got together, and we both said that we didn't want kids, but we were open to the idea of maybe one day, like when we did get married, we may change our minds. And fast forward now, we got married in August, and the question that everyone was asking post us getting married was, okay, well, you're married now, when are you having kids? And we sort of came to that conclusion of, we're not going to have kids, because we love our life too much. As selfish as that sounds, we didn't think having kids was something that we both wanted. And I think that's okay. I think people just get really shocked by that as well too. They're like, what do you mean you're not going to have kids? Like, you'll never experience love like this. And I'm like, I have 3 pets. I feel like I'm experiencing the love that I need right now. But yeah, we just came to a decision where we don't want to have kids, and that's so okay.
And I think sometimes like there are people that, like yourself, who just decide like, I don't want to have children, that's your choice. And I think then there's also that other layer of like people that do want to have children but they can't have children, and then they've also got that pressure of like, it's something that they want but they can't have. And then when people ask you like, oh, when are you going to have children, because it's not something that you want to talk about openly if you're struggling. So you have to also navigate like that as well, and come to a place where you feel, okay, like I'm content without having children, and then get to the place, I guess, where you are, where you have such a full life. You don't have to have children just to feel like whole, or feel whole as a woman as well, I think.
I agree. And I think it's such an invasive question, isn't it? Like asking somebody, when are you going to have kids? Because we really don't know someone's fertility journey. And I think that's what was sort of like annoying me so much, was like, what if we were deciding to have kids and we were going through that process of finding a sperm donor as a same-sex couple, going through IVF, and you know, I just was like, this is such an invasive question, because there's so many women out there who are going through that, and it would just be absolutely heartbreaking to just be hearing that on the daily. So I think that's why I sort of put that notion out there on social media, to be like, I'm not having kids, but also we need to rethink why we're asking women when are they going to be having kids, because we don't know someone's fertility journey, and it's just very invasive.
And it can be really triggering as well.
So triggering.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people that do struggle like with their fertility, and it can be, you know, even navigating IVF and all of that sort of thing. It's like it's a lot on your emotions, on your spirit, and just it can be really triggering. But like you said, like you've got fur babies. I have a little puppy, or like she's not a puppy now, she's 5, but she's like my little baby, and I think the love and the joy that we get from our pets, it's like they're like our children.
There are babies, there are babies. And also, like, my sister just had a baby, and I get to experience that level of love being an auntie. So I feel like I'm not missing out because I know it's something that I don't want. But I know that, like, I love babies, but it's something that, yeah, we're not planning on doing.
You got married last year. Congratulations. What's married life been like for you?
It's so funny. We get this question all the time, and we both laugh, and we're like, oh, like, nothing's really changed. I mean, it has, in the sense of we've grown closer as a couple, but I don't know, married life is so much fun. It is so much fun, but at the end of the day, it's just, yeah, nothing's really changed apart from us just like growing and just becoming a lot more stronger as women.
And before that, you did experience divorce. What's it like navigating like those feelings when you are going through a divorce or you're making that decision to, end a relationship? I think, with divorce, like people can feel maybe like they've failed or they have to try and fix something, even though you know in your heart that that's not what you want anymore. Like, how did you navigate that and how did you heal from going through that?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, for context, I got married really young to a man at 21 and then divorced by 26, 27. And I think it was an easy process for us to separate and get a divorce because we both just fell out of love with each other, and we both had different ideals of what we wanted our world to be. He wanted to have kids and start a family, whereas I was very career orientated. And so we just sort of came to this decision of like, why fix what is broken and can't be fixed right now? It's okay. So we sort of accepted that. And I hold no shame around getting the divorce and separating from him because I wouldn't be the woman I am today if I didn't sort of take that leap and take that jump. So I think if there is anyone going through a divorce, don't hold shame around that because it takes so much courage and vulnerability and love towards yourself to be like, I need to remove myself from this in order to grow as an individual and figure out who I want to become. And why stay with someone if you're just not in love with them as well too?
If you can also talk to us about discovering your sexuality. I feel like a lot of people like can feel maybe a bit nervous or a bit like scared, or they feel like they're not sure how, like what people will say, or, they don't have like that strength. Like, can you explain like your personal journey and just like discovering your, like who you are and, your sexuality?
Yeah, so I feel like society set me up to just think that man and woman, you get married, you have babies, you have the white picket fence life. And when I separated from my ex-husband, I sort of started exploring and understanding that I wasn't just attracted to one gender, I was attracted to the energy of an individual. And that's when my self-discovery sort of started happening, where I realized, oh, I actually really love women. Women are great. This is like very much what I'm aligned to moving towards. And I think I don't know. It was like a bit of a light bulb moment to be like, yeah, this is what I love, and these are the type of people that I want to be with. I remember sort of coming out in quotation marks. I say that to my family and just saying, oh, I have a girlfriend, and they were like, yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like not what I was expecting. And they just said, we don't care who you fall in love with. And I think that for me was that confirmation of, yeah, I shouldn't care who I fall in love with and no one else should care who I fall in love with. And I think that self-discovery led me to realizing at the time I was bisexual. I really enjoyed being with men, but loved being with women. And then as the years sort of went on, I realized, oh, I'm actually not attracted to men. It was just filling a void to make me realize that I'm actually a lesbian and that I love women. So yeah, that's sort of my queer experience, the quickest little snapshot.
And can you explain to us, like, being in a relationship with a woman, how is that experience different to when you're in a relationship with a man, in terms of, like, we communicate differently, the way that women like nurture, the way that we are very open with our emotions. And I'm not saying like all men are like that, but, you know, we are different in how we communicate. We are different how we show up in a relationship. So like, do you mind talking to us about like just the differences that you've experienced in your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, it like my wife Imogen, as soon as we met, we both just knew that this was it and we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. And I think that is an indicator of like women falling in love with women. It's very fast. It's very like go, 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 because you're both just emotionally intelligent to realize what you want and who you want to be with. I think dating women is so funny because we're both just you're very hot-headed and you communicate really well, and there's lots of emotions, but I feel as though it's more vulnerable and it's more sacred as well too. I've never felt more comfortable with an individual. I feel like I've never been able to have that emotional level with men either in relationships, whereas women, it's so much different. It's almost spicier as well too, like just the energy. So, but no, it's good. Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your book now, if we can, Wild and Witchy, A Guide to Self-Love, Spirituality and Manifestation. And I do have to say, I love the name. It's such a cool name. Can you explain like what the book's about and also how you came to the title of your book as well?
Yeah, I mean, the title sort of came to me. I remember putting it in like a group chat with my friends and just saying, what do you think the name of the book should be? And someone wrote wild something. And I was like, witchy, and then we just came to this conclusion of Wild and Witchy. But the book is like a handbook that I wanted for women in their 20s and 30s to just sort of come back to when they were struggling with their intuition, spirituality, relationships, whether that was with your partner or friendships, dealing with grief. I wanted it to just be this handbook where you're ripping out pages and you're writing things in there. It was never made to be this book that you would sit there and read from start to finish. I just wanted women to come to it and be like, okay, this is what I'm struggling with right now, and this is what I'm going to lean into. So I think the book is just one of those handbooks that people need in their lives.
And you're all about manifestation, gratitude, culture and creativity. With the new year kicking off, like we're like in full swing now, what advice do you have for people wanting to set intentions and manifest like for the year ahead?
Yeah, so I'm actually working with my group because I do life coaching. So I'm working with my group of women at the moment, and we are doing all things around desires for 2026. And I sort of set them up to understand that, you know, you can go ahead and make 1,000,000 goals for the year, but the reality is you need to be realistic on what actually you want to achieve and what you want to do. You can't just set the intention of doing 20 million things because you're only human at the end of the day. So I sort of set them up to say, choose 2 desires for the year and let's work towards them, and be realistic and hold yourself accountable. And I feel like anyone can achieve absolutely anything, but you just have to be super realistic on exactly what you want.
And like, what about goal setting? Like, it's so easy to set goals, and also like New Year's resolutions. Like people, you know, at the end of the year, they're like, okay, like my New Year's resolution is going to be da 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 da. And then, you know, a few weeks in, like you cave, or you know, you might become a bit lazy, or you think, okay, like I'll just start it next month, and then it kind of rolls on and you can procrastinate. So like what advice do you have for people to refocus and maybe kind of stay a bit more on track when it comes to those types of things?
I think my advice would be, and it's the advice I give my clients, is if you really want something, you'll form habits daily in order to actually get there. It takes 21 days to form a habit. So you just have to set yourself up to understand that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But if you really want that thing and you really want to hit that goal, you have to be intentional daily in order to get there.
And what about manifesting in relationships? Like maybe you're single and you want to manifest, you know, or attract like a type of relationship that you want, or maybe you're in a relationship and you want to better like your connection with your partner, or like manifest more of like a healthy dynamic. Like what advice do you have for that kind of manifestation?
Yeah, I mean, manifesting love. I literally manifested my wife. I know that sounds crazy, but
That's so
I wrote
beautiful.
a yeah, I wrote a letter to the universe, and it's a form of manifesting where it's called scripting. So I wrote a future letter to myself saying, dear universe, thank you so much for bringing in XYZ. And I wrote the specifics around the type of woman I wanted to bring into my life. I wrote down every little detail in terms of the personality, the color of her hair. I wrote down she's blonde, she's tall, she plays sport. And I wrote down the feelings that I wanted to feel when I was with that person. So I think you just have to get super specific on what you want and then be intentional about, say, dating and things like that. Don't go on dates if your intuition is telling you no. Be really intentional about that person that you're wanting to bring into your life. But yeah, I look back at that letter that I have and I wrote to the universe and I'm like, I literally manifested my wife. It is
That is
crazy.
crazy. And like even
Yeah.
down to like hair color, like I guess I
Yeah.
have heard about this type of like manifestation, and
Yeah.
even like a few years ago I did it, and it was like I wrote a letter to myself, but like that I had actually achieved those things. So I was like,
Hmm.
it's so great being in my new home, like as if I'd already had it. And that, at the time,
Yeah.
it felt very like weird. I was like, I feel like this is, I don't know, just it's not a normal thing to
Mm.
do, like not a natural thing. And then later in the year, like I was like, I have achieved not everything, but there were some
Hmm.
things on there, like I had moved out, like I was in my own place. And that was something that I really, I guess, focused on when I was writing that. And then to see like it does work if you really, and
Yeah.
I think also another thing is like if you're trying to manifest a certain relationship or person, you then put yourself, is this correct? Like you put yourself in
Mhm.
the places where that person, type of
Mm.
person would be. Like, is that
Yeah,
another?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all energy. So for instance, one way that I've sort of told a few of my clients when we're manifesting love is like create space for that person in your home. So in your wardrobe, like create space for them to put their clothes in there. Or if your car is parked over two car spaces in your garage, park to the one side. So then you've got space for that person to come on in. So I think if you're sort of like creating that energy within your home space, you're saying to the universe, yes, I'm ready and I'm open for like love to be coming on through the doors.
Yeah. I don't know about the
Mm.
making space in the wardrobe. I've got too many clothes.
Yes.
But late last year, you shared on your socials your journey going alcohol free for the rest of the year, and you spoke about breaking the cycle of binge drinking. And I think it was 3 days ago, you shared an update that you've been alcohol free for 99 days. So that was
Mm.
what, like, are you up to like 102 days now or something? Or
Yeah,
that's
something like that. It's
amazing.
crazy.
And you spoke about like the inner work and healing journey that you've been on while you have been alcohol free. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm so open about it, but I was such a heavy drinker, binge drinking just on the weekends, like always trying to find, people to just go and just drink. And I could never just have a glass of wine. It would always lead from one to two bottles and then staying out until 5 a.m. in the morning. And whilst I get that idea sounds fun, it just got to a point for me that it was affecting my mental health and it was affecting just the post hangovers. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just woke up after a really bad night out on the town and I thought, I'm going to go sober. I'm going to just go cold turkey. And I set the intention of just going sober for the rest of last year. And I did that. And now we're 2026. And I'm over 100 days sober, but the journey itself has been so interesting because I've had to deal with a lot of inner work and lots of trauma that I suppressed because I was using alcohol as a tool to escape. I've had to do things like going and seeing a therapist. I've had a change in medication. I've had to just do lots of interesting inner work to deal with absolutely everything. But honestly, like going sober has been the best thing that I've ever done.
Yeah, I've heard that like from other people that have
Mm.
like they might have been like, oh, I'll just do like a month, but then the
Mhm.
benefits that they feel from it, like sleeping better, like just feeling better mentally, feeling more energetic, being like
Mhm.
even in a better mood as well. But it can be really hard like for people as well especially like going to events like weddings is a big one, you know, like where there's a lot of people that are going to be, you know, like having champagne and you're celebrating, or like a birthday. What advice do you have for people that are like navigating going to events where there will be people that are drinking while you're making the decision to not drink? How do you navigate like those social events?
I mean, for me personally, that was like a really hard thing. As soon as I said I was going sober, I knew that I had like hens parties and multiple weddings coming up. And I just kept thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I not like, how am I just going to like have the conversation with people when they ask me if I want a glass of champagne? But I think the best advice that I can give is people are more uncomfortable about you not drinking. I don't know why, but it's just like almost a projection on them. And I don't know why other people are uncomfortable that I don't have a glass of champagne in my hand. But my advice is just go for the soft drink. You are doing more positive towards yourself by making that conscious choice. But yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed is people will just project onto you, like, why aren't you drinking? Or sort of peer pressure you a little bit. And it's like, no, it's a decision that I've made and people should be respectful of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like it's okay if they want to have their drink, but if you don't want to, like that's your choice, and that's, you know, you're probably going to feel a lot better than them in the morning anyway.
Exactly right.
And you have shared that you've done hypnotherapy, is that right? That you've done hypnotherapy. What is that experience like? Because I've heard about it and I've thought about doing it a few years ago. I kind of researched a little bit, but I just was a bit hesitant because I wasn't sure, you know, what was involved. Like, can you explain your experience with it and the benefits as well?
Yeah, so I did a few sessions of hypnotherapy, and I was a bit skeptical myself because I was like, is this actually going to work? I don't know, but it's really interesting because you are asleep but you're awake. It's like your subconscious is coming through, and the reason I did it was just sort of like an added tool to just condition my brain to be like, you don't have to drink alcohol, it's okay. And it was really interesting because I came out of the session being like, oh, nothing's really changed, that's fine. But then it wasn't until we went to an event and the smell of alcohol, I smelt a glass of wine and I was like, I'm going to be sick. And I was like, where is this coming from? And I spoke to the hypnotherapist and she said that it's almost like she's just put a little spell on me to just make me think that alcohol is a little bit of poison. And then I just sort of rewired my brain. But the hypnotherapy is so interesting. I can't explain it, but it just opens up your subconscious a little bit more to just realize that certain things aren't good for you.
And looking at your career as a whole, an author, a mindset coach, speaker, content creator, what season of life do you think that you're in right now, and where do you think your focus is heading next?
I think the season that I'm in right now is just this really slow one because I've been so busy the last 6 years with work. I mean, you would understand being in the media industry, it's just go, go, go. And sometimes you just can't say no to things. So I think I'm in this season of just picking and choosing what I want to do in terms of work and just going with the flow a little bit more. And I think that's the most exciting thing because I don't know what's on the horizon in terms of the next chapter of work. So I think I'm in a very cool season of slowness.
Yeah, it's a good place to be, especially after the craziness of, you know, Christmas and New Year and all the, like, it can be really hectic, the holidays. And sometimes you feel like when you go back to work, like you need a break from the holiday just to like refocus. So that's always a good place to be, just in like a slow, I need to learn how to do that. I can be very like, I overthink everything. I can be really in my head. And so I'd love to learn how to be more calm and maybe just like accepting of, okay, if I'm late, it's okay. I don't need to stress. Like otherwise the stress is very tiring.
Yeah, it is. And I think, well, there's a book recommendation for you, that Mel Robbins book, The Let Them Theory. I think I'm
reading
taking that. Yeah, I'm like, take that under your wing a little bit more because it's just like, what's the point in stressing? Like, what's going to happen? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Probably nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's something that you're still learning about yourself, like as a person, as a partner, that you maybe didn't expect?
I think I'm I'm really learning that I'm not a patient person. I know that sounds really random, but I'm just not a patient person. I just want to be like go, go, go all the time. I don't have time for things. But I think because I am in this season of slowness, I'm realizing that I have to learn to be more patient about things, and especially in my relationship, which is really, really interesting because we see a couples therapist, and that's one of the things that I'm really trying to work on is just being a lot more patient.
Yeah, I need to do that too. It's not something I was born with. I don't know if I can
No,
learn to not
either.
be, but I do. It's a frustrating habit of mine.
Yeah, I'm the exact same.
And finally, for mob listening, like who might see themselves in you or be inspired by your
Mm,
journey, whether it's, manifestations, the
mhm,
spiritual and like the guidance that you give people, or even your journey to just being healthier, alcohol free.
mhm.
What advice do you have for people if they're kind of unsure of how to navigate certain situations?
I think my advice would be is like make sure that you put your happiness first. I think we forget that sometimes. I think as a society, we people please all the time and we'll happily do a million things for other people, but make sure that you put your happiness first when it comes to business, life, whatever it may be, yeah, I think that's what my advice would be.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Allira, for joining me. And I know that it is a little bit awkward doing it on remote. It's like you're in Adelaide, I think, and
Yeah, I
I'm here in
am.
Sydney in the studio. So thank you so much. Like we made it work. But next time you're in Sydney, it'd be really great for you to come in and we can unpack a
Yes.
little bit more. I'm so interested to
Hmm.
know more about like the manifestation and all of that. So
Hmm.
it'd be great to have you come in. But thank you again for your time, and I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And that's your access for today. Another yarn shared, another story unlocked. I'm Lowanna Grant, and this is Access Granted. Access Granted would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are recording today and the lands that you're tuning in from. I pay my respects to all elders past and present, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening. I honour our stories, cultures and knowledge systems that have existed here for over 65,000 years and continue to guide us today. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land.